Hello there guys, time for another review. Today we'll be looking at the Beyerdynamic T5p, which is the portable version of the top of the line headphone, the T1, which I reviewed on an earlier occasion. I don't have one on hand to compare to it, but they are extremely similar, so in many ways what I say in this review will probably be similar to what I said about the T1. Let's first go over the physical part. Here we'll see a lot of similarities as usual with the Beyerdynamic products to the other products, and in this case especially the T1. The headband is the same as on the T1, very soft lambskin leather with a sort of suede top here with Beyerdynamic pressed into it, and then we have the metal rod blocks here with the serial number on the inside and the left indication with three little knobs for blind people, so there you can find it as well. It says Beyerdynamic on the side, and then we have the arms here. It says T5p cut out in the middle there, and then where the Beyerdynamic has some spacing is in here. This one's just open all the way down, and the arms are made of metal. The blocks here on the hinges are made of some very durable rubbery plastic. Same thing about the edges on the headphones, some rubbery plastic, very nice surface. And it doesn't take fingerprints, which is very nice on a pair of headphones, because a lot of headphones have surfaces that do these days, especially the ones that look as good as this does, because I think this is one of the best looking headphones on the market at the moment, especially in the high-end portable headphones, of which there aren't a lot. The plates on the side of the cup are made of metal. I'm guessing it's probably steel, because aluminium as thin as this would probably be too flexible and would just bend if you did anything to it. Of course I haven't dropped these because these aren't actually mine, these belong to a customer of mine, but it looks very nice. Some of you may know the T1 is a semi-open headphone, and on the side here it has some a steel mesh that is weaved into a distinct pattern where it just goes different ways all the way down, zigzagging in rows, and then it says Beyerdynamic in the middle. This headphone is closed, but they actually laser etched the same pattern onto it with the Beyerdynamic in the middle, and I actually think this looks a lot better. It looks really cool. One thing about this headphone, I also think it makes it look a lot better than the T1, is just the T1 has sort of a yellowish color to it. The aluminium on it has sort of a yellow tone to it, and I really don't like that. I don't know why it has that. This one is more of a cold grey metally color, and then with contrasting to a lot of black, which just in general looks, in my opinion, a lot better. The pads are made of leather, whereas on the T1 they're made of velour, and I think leather is much better because it doesn't collect as much gunk as a velour pad does, and it lasts a lot longer, and it also looks better in my opinion. So all in all, very nice lambskin pads. They are a bit sticky, and I don't know why, but they're just made this way. It's not a problem, it's not uncomfortable or anything. It doesn't feel, it may feel a bit weird if they're cold and you put them on, but you get used to it, and it feels nice when you've had them on for a while. You won't even notice they're there because they're quite light. The drivers they're not the same as the T1, but they look completely identical, and they are also Tesla drivers, and they are angled, and basically the entire design is exactly the same as the T1, except the T1 is 600 ohms and this one is 32 ohms, so it can be driven by pretty much anything. It's dual side entry, just like the T1, but the cable is a lot thinner on this one. This is a cable I made from pure silver, but the original cable is about the same thickness, bearing in mind it's just a single coated conductor on each side, so it's not actually braided like this. It's just a black thin cable, very simple, same style as the T1, just a lot thinner. And the original one is terminated in a Nutric angled mini jack plug, for portable use. But yeah, that's about it as far as the physical properties go. They fit in your head very well, very comfortably. You won't really notice it there. Everything is as you would expect from Beyerdynamic. Extremely solid build and very nice looking. Yeah, that's about it. About the sonics of this headphone, this is where it gets really interesting to me, because I had sort of written this off as something that wouldn't really interest me, because the T1 had some issues with resonance. Not majorly so, but they were there and they were noticeable on some tracks, which made it have not the blackest background, and some things would tend to sort of run together in tracks where a lot was going on. And these do have some of the same, but not a lot more, which is surprising, because if you look at a measurement of these, the resonance is just all over the place. It's completely bonkers, but it's actually not that bad when you listen to it. I didn't really notice it, and wasn't anything glaring. The overall sound of this headphone is a lot like I remember the T1, which is very, very neutral, very good all-rounder. It is a bit on the bright side, not as bright as, for example, the Fostix GH900, which to me got very peaky and very, very sibilant. This one doesn't do that. It is a bit sharp sounding in the same way as a T1 or an HD800 can be, which is not very much, but it's there. You shouldn't turn up the volume extremely much, since it is a bright headphone. But at the same time it has a very good bass, and this is what interests me, because it has the sound signature and the general sound of the T1 pretty much as good as the T1 in my opinion. I don't have it for direct comparison, keep this in mind, but as far as I remember it's pretty much the same. And the bass feels a lot better. Because of the closed back design, it gets very, very punchy, and the sound in general is just very, very punchy, and that makes it a very engaging headphone, which the T1 it is, but it isn't. The T1 is a bit relaxed sounding, and this one, if my memory serves me right, this one is a bit more aggressive sounding. I really like that. So it has good punch, really hits the notes hard, and it in general falls off good afterwards, so you get sort of a sense of a black background, even though it isn't there, because it does have some resonance, but it's not something you'll notice a lot. So the transients are quite good, not to say actually very good. They're better than, for example, the Odyssey, which don't really have much impact. These have a lot of impact, actually so much so that on some tracks I could actually feel physically, if I put my finger in the cup, I could feel it vibrating when, for example, when the drum was hit. Keep in mind, I don't listen very loudly. I'm not a soft listener, but I definitely don't listen very loudly, because I do want to protect my ears. But yeah, so good on that part. The overall balance is very good, as you would expect, much like the T1, very neutral. The mids, nothing particular to say there. They are just about as you would expect, very, very good. So much so that you don't actually notice them. There's not really much to say about them. They do what they're supposed to do, and nothing more, nothing less. Same about the highs, very accurate, very good, very detailed. A bit bright, a bit sharp, not much. It doesn't become a problem unless you turn up the volume a lot, which you shouldn't do. Sometimes you may want a bit less treble to bass ratio, but it's not a problem. I'd say for most tracks it's not really an issue. It's, like I mentioned, one of the best all-rounders I've heard, especially because it's a closed back headphone, so you can use this anywhere. And about that, it has a very good soundstage actually. It's much like the T1 in the soundstage area. It has the same drivers and the same angled design, as you may notice. And the result of this is a very accurate soundstage, which is quite big. Not as big as I remember the GH900 being, and not as big as it's an HD800, but much bigger than most closed headphones. So in general, I'd say this is probably, from my experience, my favorite closed back headphone on the market at the moment. As an all-rounder, TH900 is much better than this one at some things, but if I wanted a headphone that I could use with anything, this is far superior, because the TH900 does have a colored sound, and that means that in some cases it won't work because the bass is not as controlled as in this. This has a very controlled bass, whereas the TH900 has some looseness in the bass area compared to this. And it retains the punch that you'd want in the bass, and without being as bloated as some might find the Fostex to be. The Fostex has beyond neutral in the bass area. This doesn't. This has very neutral bass, and just overall very balanced. So yeah, I'd definitely say this is one of the best, if not the best, closed back headphone in its price range at the moment, if you want an actual good high fidelity headphone that you can use anywhere. This is it. And it's also quite portable. You can drive it with just about anything, and as with most Beyerdynamic headphones, you can wear it around your neck without much trouble, even though it's fairly large, but it won't be an issue. Just extend it a little bit and then it shouldn't trouble you. So strong recommendation for this one. As I said, I would say thanks to my customer for letting me actually review this headphone, and I think I might be getting one myself because I'm quite a fan. It's really, really great. But yeah, that's about it for now. Oh, last note, as far as the cable goes, this is a pure silver cable, and I would recommend upgrading to a silver cable, keeping in mind when you're getting a cable upgrade, don't just buy one that is all silver. There's a specific type of cryo-treated wire on the market which has 1% gold in it, which is the type of wire that I use, and I'd say that's a lot better than pure silver. It keeps it from getting very, very sharp, as some silver cables can do. This is of course assuming that you are the type of person who actually feels like you can hear the difference in cables, which some don't, and that's fair enough, but it's just, I feel like it does get a bit more air with this cable than it did with the original. Placebo or not, an improvement in my head is what matters when I'm listening to a headphone. So that's up to you. Just keep in mind, I wouldn't recommend pure silver. Get the one that has a bit of gold in it, because it does tone it down just a little bit and makes it more listenable, and it does make for a very pleasant upgrade for it, I'd say. Otherwise, go with copper probably, because that will keep the highs in check. And this headphone is tuned for a copper cable. The original cable is made of pure copper, just not the highest quality on the market, but it's still a nice cable. Yeah, that's just my last note, since this had a change cable. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions regarding this or anything else that pertains to this video or not, feel free to ask me in the comment section, and I'll come back and reply as fast as I can. If you want more videos or more reviews, please thumbs up and subscribe. I don't upload that often, since I'm not actually a paid reviewer. I just review whenever I have something on hand to review, but I'll do my best. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.